And next, I want to call up Robin Keller to give his, everybody's been asked to say no more than 2 minutes of some aspect of what they bring to the position, why they're running, what they'd like to do, and do all of that in 2 minutes. So this is your first challenge, should you be elected.
Well, it sounds like I'm first.
And you're first.
Well, I'd like to say hello to everybody. I'm a relatively new member. I've been a member, I think, maybe for 3 months. And I guess the reason that I'd like to run for the board is that I'm so impressed with this organization and the people who are the current board members, and Susan and Carol, who I spoke with at length about running as a director.
Jimmy, could you keep your voice raised? I'm particularly deaf, so if you could make me hear, maybe he could stand.
Sure. Well, I have a particularly soft voice, I've been told, so it sounds like I'm
be assertive, be aggressive.
Yes, sir. So by background, I was a software engineer for many years, a manager, and eventually an executive for startup companies in the Bay Area, many of whom no longer exist. I retired about 15 years ago, and after a few years of the 100% discretionary lifestyle, I went back to school and got a master's degree in psychology, and I now am a psychotherapist where I work with financially disadvantaged folks, couples, and adolescents. And I'm particularly interested in dialogue. I think I've become interested in local politics, which is at the same time interesting and incredibly frustrating for anybody who has that experience. And I think it's enormously important to engage in a dialogue, an even-handed dialogue between opposing points of view. I'm so impressed with the Marin Coalition. I would love to be a director of this organization, and should you vote for me, and I'm happen to be elected, I promise that I will do everything in my power to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. And you notice we have that all on video, with thanks to Stephen Nessel, who's our videographer again.
Oh dear.
So we're getting the promises on videotape.
What is your name?
Robin Keller.
So just know, we're going in the same order as on the ballot to help you.
On the ballot.
Yeah, on the ballot. Yeah, on the ballot. Okay, another one of our candidates is Stephen Nessel, our videographer. So Stephen, can you turn the camera around at the same time?
I understand. It'd probably be easier for me to go over here. Well, I don't know how to do this. Yes, my name is Stephen Nessel, and you can see me around for this last year. I'm a videographer. I'm a photographer for Google and do video production work. And I must tell you, I love this luncheon. I love what we do here. And my reason for running for the board is to continue the mission. One thing I'm particularly proud of is, if you look at all the attendance figures there, we've probably tripled the attendance through the virtue of putting these videos up on the web. It may sound boring to some, but you know, if you're interested in good conversations about the issues that are important to Marin, Marin Coalition is the place to be. What I would like to bring to the board is more of this marketing and looking towards the future, you know, creating the conversations that matter. And I resonate with Robin here. You know, dialogue is really where it's at. Good, balanced dialogue, and I think so often in Marin, political issues become fractionalized, and it's kind of nice to have a place where we all can talk and talk deeply and thoughtfully with our neighbors and people with opposing points of view. So anyhow, I just want to help with the mission, and if I can be of service to the board, please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. running for re-election is Doris Slaw Bagley, who introduced herself earlier. Doris, you're welcome to give your 2 minutes.
Well, I wrote a few things down.
Okay, good.
I've been on the board for 2 years, and it's been a great and wonderful pleasure, and learned a lot of things, and so did others. Oh, sorry, I got a lot of boys. Anyway, I'm in the race with 7 other people, and I'm the only woman, and I guess you can tell that. And it's really worse statistics than what Hillary is facing. So anyway, remember, I'm the only woman on the ballot. So I'm going to jump right in into something that I read this morning in the IJ. Marin County has a population of 255,000 people. And in this morning's IJ, Nels Johnson talked about the budget that we're facing. And they've increased the budget by $30 million to a total of $518 million. This is why I'm here. I mean, we need better government. We need better representation. And this is such a platform for it. And incidentally in the article, the tab for inactive, in quotes, employees or county retirees is 70% of the budget. So what I am saying for this next year, with 255,000 people divided into a budget of $518 million, that's big bucks. We should, by July of 2016, have better roads, better transportation, justice and human services should be better, and we should have the best of all the counties in California. So that's my goal.
We might need to expand the board so we can have more people on this board. Change the bylaws.
Everybody wins.
Okay, the next candidate is David Kurland, who is in Hawaii. So here to read a statement from David Kurland is Doug Scherf.
Well, David had a family event planned before this event, so he was unable to attend. I've only met him twice, so I'm probably not going to be able to give as good a representation as I should be able to. But if you look at his resume, the business career that he had, the education he has with the BA and MBA and some law training, his community service with Boy Scouts and with Rotary. Of all these things, let me suggest that Rotary may be the most important. I think Rotary is the best service organization in the world. It's a very large organization whose motto is service above self, and that's essentially what it involves, is people committing their time to service. He has 38 years of commitment to Rotary. That tells me he's a community service-oriented person. And one of his principal interests seems to be community participation and dialogue. So I think that's a very good, strong recommendation for an individual for the board. And even though I'm talking on behalf of David Kurland, I would like to mention that Robin Keller is also a member of Rotary. I happen to be his sponsor in Rotary. I also bought his membership in the Marin Coalition because I knew he would like to be in this organization. I knew he would appreciate the quality of the programs. And here he is a few months later applying for the board. So, yeah.
Doug is one of our retiring board members, and one of the reasons we have these open spaces. And just you can understand and appreciate why we are sorry, Doug, to see you go. And we are so grateful for all the years of service that you've been on this board. Thank you. Okay, we have another incumbent, also stepping up to be reapplied or reappointed to this board, elected to this board. Vic Canby is one of our longtime members. Vic, tell us what you're up to.
So, first of all, I'm a native of Marin, and I was trying to figure out how many years I've been associated with the coalition. It's about 30 years. So in the early days, we were pretty much all construction, and real estate people, and now, of course, the composition has changed dramatically. One of the my concerns to bring to you today, because I've been I was in Rotary 440 down in Latin America, and there's almost everything that people mention. I, at one time or another, were involved in something like that. But one of the issues is a fellow named Peter Thiel, who's kind of a member of the growing number of people from Silicon Valley who are interested in youth and plugging them in to be able to start their own businesses, to be able to have small businesses basically work on the problems that we have for our society today in this very changing environment. So Peter Thiel had referred to super networked industries and government that can sustain policies that can go wrong before anyone notices it. And I wanted to just mention this because one of the big problems we're having today is that policies moving much faster among all the different government agencies than the public can really keep up with. And this is going to come to some crisis, is what Peter Thiel is saying, and others recognize this, and it may hit us like an earthquake. It's just nobody knows when this concatenation of all of these forces come together as far as government. So one of my concerns on the coalition is that we have the opportunity here to look at issues that could affect the outcome of that. And we serve, in essence, as a kind of a shadow government to all the levels of government within Marin County, to be able to bring up themes that are of value to the people of Marin County, put the people first, and keep the ball rolling so that our elected officials don't fall in that trap. So that's my concern for being on the Marin Coalition board a few more years if I can. Thank you.
Okay, the seventh and final board candidate is Charles Bruce. So, Charles.
With 120 seconds to speak, I hate to even read. You can look at my qualifications on your list there. I've gone through various phases of activity in my career, from academia, teaching at the university level, to media and arts. I'm a playwright. I have had produced plays here in the Bay Area. And I'm the theater critic, senior theater critic for Pacific Sun at present. So my interest is in the arts, particularly, although my background is in political science and history. So I bring that to whatever I do in advocating for the arts and for the environment. The environment is my other specific interest. Marin Coalition is a very interesting organization because, as far as I know, this is the only group that is not specifically dedicated to a certain point of view, to an advocacy position for bicyclists or pedestrians or dogs or whatever. So we have a place in Marin County which is unique, and I'm a great fan of James Madison, one of our founding fathers, when he said that democracy is never safe unless it has countervailing powers. And Marin Coalition can be one of the countervailing powers that will face what we who've lived in Marin for a long time, I've been here since 1970, know this is still a small county ruled by an old boy and old girl now network that is accustomed to having its own way. And with the decline of newspapers, we now play a very significant role with the coalition. So, what is my platform? I'd like to increase our influence in Marin. And how do we do that? We expand the membership as much as we can and bring in diversity to a greater extent than we have it. We focus on choices. That is, when we have topics, instead of just putting them out in the air as an educational thing, we have choices. Should we do this or should we do that? And when we have that and we have advocates, I heard one person say that was a good idea, and I wholeheartedly agree. When we have that, we have a clash of views, and out of that clash, we can then come to choices, which I then would like to see voted upon by the group in a straw poll, not a binding vote of the organization. But let's not go out of here just feeling like we're a little bit more knowledgeable about the subject. But let's go out of here with the knowledge that we have indicated our preference for one of these choices, and that will be then communicated to the governmental authorities and to the media, and we'll put the Marin Coalition on the map as one of the groups that is listened to. Yes?
You mentioned London, sir. Which college?
London, University of London.
University of London, but it has colleges like
No,
King's
excuse me,
College.
it was London School of Economics. It was,
Sorry?
Yeah, London School of Economics, and it was...
London School of Economics, thank you.
Yes.
Very distinguished.
So you never know when you're going to ask a question. Ask a question.
So you're going to move to your final.
In any case, I'm down to my final seconds.
Yes.
So I would be very honored to serve you on the board, and thank you for listening.
Once a year.
Well, okay, let me just, I think you can hear me okay, right? You can hear me if I'm speaking in my big voice here?
Yeah.
So we'll have the microphone hopefully working soon. And what we're going to do then is make this an interactive kind of session. You know, you've read, our theme is what's on your mind. And we want this both a chance for anybody to be bringing forward things that are of concern to you about what's happening in Marin County. And we expect that that'll kind of spill over to be listing possible topics for us for the 2015-2016 year. So Maria is going to be up here just jotting down a few key phrases or ideas that people bring forward, and that'll be information that gets woven into the work of the program committee of the subcommittee of the board. So, all right, let's see what we have here. Okay, now, working now?
No.
Working now?
No.
Not much better, right? No. Okay. Everybody's going to project.
Is it ours that's not working or McGinnis? Are you using McGinnis' mic or ours?
Dennis, is this McInnis's?
No, it's ours.
All right, it's ours. All right, we're a small enough group. Let's just count on everybody really needs to project. And, I mean, let's just start. We'll just go like one or two from each one of the tables, and if we get through all of the tables, then we'll make another round. So, let's start. This table has the greatest number of people. Who Eleanor, what's on your mind? And please stand when you do, when you're called on to speak.
Okay, I'm from Novato, and we're having many of the same problems that the rest of Marin County is having with the push for urbanization in our town. And I'm very upset because even today, if you haven't gone to Novato Exposed, it's against what's happening. You can even find it on the web. Just go on your email, on your computers. And it's about the whole issue of we have administrators who are bought into this ideology that we have to build, that we have to sell out part of Novato, and it's called the Northwest Quad, is low income, but 80% of the homes are rentals. So the idea is for the landlords to sell that land and increase the zoning, which has been approved, so that they can build more and more and more, which impacts me as a middle-class person, retired teacher, to make sure I have enough for the more fees, the more noise, the more traffic, and the cost to me, which defeats my purpose of living in Marin for a retiree to enjoy what we have. So there's that dilemma of growth versus not growth, or slow growth.
So just to kind of see, as people bring up what's on their mind, let's just with a show of hands, how many of you are also concerned about urbanization and what's happening with, okay, so maybe you could just make a note too, that there's a lot of people, we won't count exactly.
100%.
Okay, let's go to the back table. Anyone there have something you want to bring forward as what's on your mind as we're doing this?
Yeah, I'd like,
And stand, please. Oh. I mean, let's get your name and city. And
Jody Morales with CSPP and city, you said, Lucas Valley. I think we should try to get more of the supervisors in here to talk to, maybe on a one-on-one.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Well, yeah, there's so much more I could say, but I won't. But I do think we need to
make them
feel kind of responsible to answering our questions, which they don't feel at all that is necessary right now.
So to that point, Steve Kinsey is going to be our speaker in the September in our September meeting. Steve Kinsey is coming, and Pat Eklund from Nevada.
Well,
so
good. Actually, any elected officials, I think it's good for them to hear what the people think, because they aren't really paying attention.
Yeah, just by the way, making this the announcement, the theme of the September meeting will be looking at Plan Bay Area, which is a part of what ties in, Eleanor, with what you were saying, around Plan Bay Area being an effort to tie transportation and housing. And so there's some of that spills over. That's why Steve Kinsey will be here as Marin's representative to the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And Pat Eklund will be here as the representative from the mayors and city council members of Marin to ABAG, the Association of Bay Area Governments. So there are two key people who should know what's
Susan, will at that meeting, will the discussion be limited only to that then, or can it go off topic?
We'll do, I think the setup will be like other times, they'll each have about 10 minutes to give a point of view, a frame of reference around Plan Bay Area 2017. Then it'll be open for questions and discussion. So if you want to bring in other kinds of questions and discussion.
Can I also comment, Susan, on what you're saying?
Okay, and again, stand so people can more easily
There
hear.
was something I really didn't include in my presentation when I was staring at the
She's just going to finish up here. Hold on just a second.
What I meant to say is how the Board of Supervisors don't listen. And then I met this woman who has been on the civics, the grand jury, and she served last year. They have formed a new committee because they found that none of their suggestions, or hardly any of their suggestions, are followed through on. And she indicated that she would like to speak next, and I hope that we consider that. They have a committee that is looking into the last 10 years, and they're going to make a report on just how many of their recommendations have been followed through or even paid attention to. And that goes to appointed boards too. The board does not listen to their own appointed boards and their recommendations.
George, just because we have a lot of
Okay,
people
I'm sorry.
so I'm going to just move it. But thank you for that. And just to make sure you've got that down for the grand jury report and having a speaker from the grand jury. So, yeah, okay, go around. We're going to keep moving our way around.
Did you want to take one from
You know what? I do want to take one from each table. Okay. So, yes.
Back in 1984,
Name
I
and
published a
city.
whole chapter on urban overgrowth
Your name?
in a book called Mental Health and the Environment. And the basic point is that growth is not good. Small is good. But when you get above a certain number, you cease to feel a member of what we can no longer call a community. And that feeling of anomie, of placelessness, is very bad in terms of human relationships. And the crime rate, for instance, which I know is not the only thing that matters, but the crime rate goes up exponentially as you start to go above 20,000 people, and then it really climbs entirely out of sight, as it has in Oakland. So, and it's not a question of density, it's just a question of the number of people that you're expected to try and relate to. When you cease to relate to them as people, society has gone.
So that's a topic idea that we would learn more, or?
I'm sorry, I'm rather deaf.
So that's a topic idea that we would look some more at size and the psychological or the social implications of growing bigger.
So, I didn't necessarily quite follow you, but the social implications of going over size are dreadful.
Great, thank you, Keith. We're going to go around then to this table and Washer. We're going to get back around other tables. Greg.
On the subject of local elected officials, and specifically candidates, which I know all of you here are very interested in, I was accused when I was president of this organization about 10 years ago of doing all politics all the time. I know we don't want to do all politics all the time, but we do want to do some politics some of the time at least. And we have two very important elections coming up that we would be remiss if we did not perhaps have on a couple of sessions. This November and next June. This November, we have most of our 8 out of our 11 city council races and a lot of school boards and a lot of special districts, including San Rafael and Novato. I know you have a great program planned for September. You might in October want to have some of the candidates for some of the city councils at least, like San Rafael and Novato. And in June, of course, there's 3 supervisors races up, and I bet this group would love to hear from some of them. And so I would hope you will allocate a time to have a candidates forum for the supervisors next April or May, and maybe this October for some of the local city council races.
And let's see, with a show of hands, how many of you like that idea of, yes, okay, to Mark then. Okay, we're going to move around, Jack, we'll get back to you next round. Anybody at this table? Freda.
Got your tongue tied, Susan. Hi, I'm Freda Wang from San Rafael, Lucas Valley. And it's imperative to me that women get equal rights and equal wages. And I would suggest that we get someone from the legal advocates, their ERA in San Francisco. I've had a speaker from them before and they're very good. And Mark Levine to speak, but also attempt to get Jared Huffman, but he's quite busy.
Okay,
so equal rights and equal wages.
Let's see, yes.
I'm Albert Lozano from West San Rafael, a member of the Marin County Grand Jurors Association. So is Dennis, by the way, Dennis Brown. And I've heard what you have mentioned. I believe that this group should support and help the Marin County Grand Jury Association.
Well, just what would help or support the group? What would that look like?
Somebody suggested to request somebody to come over
to come speak
and talk to you people about what they do.
All right, we'll go around again. We're back here to this table. Going once, yes, Angelica. Stand, please.
Randall, I'm interested in the water board, the fluoride situation, and about our dams, etc. I would like to hear somebody speak from the water board. Thank you.
Masha, we'll go to you next because I bet you have a similar underlying.
Masha Crane, I live in Canfield. I have 3 small topics that would be good for here and also for the grand jury, I guess. And one of them is special districts. There are too many of them and they're all sucking up and wasting our taxpayer money. And the second one is, why is the county administrator appointed? Why isn't an elected official running the county? That's another thought. And then the third one would be Prop 218 and its implementation. Now, both the flood election in 2007 and the late mosquito election, they were really all about Prop 218. And it needs to be reformed in some way because we have to prevent taxing agencies from gaming the system with convoluted special elections such as those two were.
Okay, great, thank you. Back to this table, I didn't forget, yes.
Well, I
Stand,
think
please.
City endorsing tax report of Ontario. I think the suggestions that have been made, and basically I think those are excellent ideas. On the way over here, I jotted down a number of them, and I'll just go on to speak, but perhaps a little more elaborately on one of them. I think the suit regarding San Quentin and the sewer area is of interest, and I would like to see that developed because I don't completely understand all of the parts of it. The slush fund, and I continue to call it a slush fund, despite Kinsey's feeling about being repulsed by the word. I just don't feel as though, my feeling is that it shouldn't exist at all. They chose to do it without the vote of the people. Pesticide use. Again, I feel as though we should not use pesticides at all, rather than the spot use. And all you have to do is think about the little child who has a cumulative effect of pesticides, carcinogen matter, in its body, and think of the effect of that. And that's a huge responsibility I think the Board of Supervisors should consider when they are deciding whether or not to use pesticides at all. This gentleman mentioned mental health. And I didn't have that on my list until he mentioned it. About 6 months ago, I'd say, I went to a NAMI meeting, which relates to mental illness. And it involved one of my neighbors. And I walked into that room. The room was much larger than this one. And it was jammed with people who have members of their family suffering from mental illness, one type or another. And we see the articles in the newspaper, oh, they should get care, they should get care. We're at the stage now where care is not helping. We have to give more attention to developing some factor that's going to help these people. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, so, and I already got backwash, but I'll circle around again. Anybody, Jack?
For the ones who haven't heard this, I'd like to bring back a bit of history and from our British predecessors, Mr. Winston Churchill, who stated that democracy is a very flawed method of governance, but yet it is as good as it has been devised yet. Yes. We must keep this in mind. I think that we all have a dream, so do I. And the dream is ultimately for harmony and for having a society and things that work. We need to get out of the box within which we feel protected and reach out among and organize for people that can come and speak to us and explain what their predicaments are. Marin City, East San Rafael, the Latino community, healthcare, prisons, Ritter House. I think that it will create for us the ability to learn, thrilled with the gifts that we enjoy and perhaps switch into a much broader healing point of view. Thank you.
Caroline.
I've watched over the last few years signs that our law enforcement personnel are under great stress. Not so much in Marin perhaps, but also in Marin. And I think that there's some signs that some of our law enforcers are suffering from post-traumatic stress or tension, job tensions. And I would like to draw on the resource of our health and services director, a man with MD and a PhD and a master's in public health, to encourage him, perhaps by speaking to us about some of our social problems, including the stress among our law enforcement personnel, because in different parts of the county more than others, but other areas too, like mental health, drug enforcement and drug addiction in our prison population, and encourage him and have him educate us from his public health philosophy, which is a very valuable philosophy because I majored in public health. But also explore how we can use these principles that this man who has so much to offer us can influence other directors in the county and to attack our social problems with the benefit of his approach.
Vic.
I'd like to refer to some of the remarks I made earlier, that policies policies are backed by laws and the government. And we really have to watch this problem of the concatenation of policies that are interpreted by people in government agencies that simply ignore a lot of what we're talking about here. And that our role, in a sense, should be to be able to fill in, as this gentleman mentioned, all of these little problems that we have that we can solve internally here. We've had wonderful examples, such as that film that came out about 50 years of politicians basically, setting up a development scheme for Marin County that has worked very well for us. At Rebels with the Cause. We know how to solve our own problems here. The problem is that we're seeing the overlay of policy coming in from federal, from state, from regional, from all of these, and the true believers, in a sense, are all these government people who are working in government saying, no, I got to follow the policy that, I'm given to me, and so they basically ignore a lot of what we talk about. We want to solve our own problems as people. So I bring that up again for that purpose.
Thank you, Vin. Robin.
Robin Keller, Del Valley. I'd like to speak in support of perhaps the presentation on mental health. When I was an intern, I was fortunate to spend 4 years at the Family Service Agency of Marin, which is now a part of the Buckaloo Group, which provides services to mentally ill folks in Marin County. And perhaps we could get community mental health from the county to be here as well. There was a big change in Medi-Cal a number of years ago that resulted in a drastic cut in services to people who are financially disadvantaged, who have mental illness. And I think it's fundamentally, people in life sometimes do things because they want to. They perform bad acts. People who are mentally ill through no fault of their own. And so I think it's a vitally important topic in this county that people are served who don't have the resources that many of us who are quite fortunate probably do.
Yes, we're going to keep going around for people who haven't had a chance.
Yeah, my name's Laurel Bosford, and I'd like to add on to what the gentleman was saying about reaching out to sectors of the community that normally are not represented here. You mentioned Marin City. I myself, I deal with the eradication of sex trafficking. I work for an organization, or volunteer for an organization doing this, and there are many people in Marin County that do not believe that this problem exists here, but it is a huge problem here. We are one of the hubs for human trafficking, and it is a very serious public health and community problem. It affects every aspect of the community. And I would like to propose that we bring the awareness of that to the Marin Coalition. Definitely Marin City is one of the problem areas. Maybe we could do something in conjunction with people that I know there, who I have dealt with. It's mostly to make Marin people aware that your children, for the most part, are not the ones that are being trafficked, but your grandchildren are, or at least are targets for these horrible people that entrap people into this horrible, horrible way of life. And it's a very important social issue. As I said, it reaches into every aspect of the community. It reaches into the law enforcement. The PTSD that was mentioned for law enforcement is also what the victims of human trafficking suffer from, and especially those children who are recruited at the age of 12. That's the average age that kids are trapped into this problem. So I'd like to bring that as a social issue, combining with the police and the, other, reaching out to those communities that we don't know about.
So we're gonna continue around, so we'll get to each of the tables before we hear the board election announcements. But I want to say too, for those of you that have brought forward an idea where you know you're a resource for us in helping to set up a program on this, and many of you have named topics where you could be the link into who do we consider talking to as a program person. Would you, if you write your name and your topic just briefly on the paper and your email or phone number, so again, so we're capturing you as the resources for us when we start building the programs. I mean, and you can already recognize, right, that we're planning for 10 sessions. Yeah. So we're not going to get to all of these. We might be able to do some combining and all, but the conversation, this is fabulous just in terms of the richness of this conversation. So I'm going to go to this table, and then Stephen, we'll get to you, and we'll get, yes, Eva.
First of all, I'm Eva Long, and one of the elected officials that's a member for a long term, and so I make every effort to be at as many meetings as I can be. First of all, I want to thank our leader, Susan, and the team of people who worked on the program this past year. I found it to be very timely, right on target in terms of issues, and I would continue to encourage the committee to make space for those urgent matters and agenda items that may in fact impact people in Marin. I also would like to reference once again the mission statement, that we focus on the mission statement and have at least one topic in each of the areas. I always think it's really important to have a program on education in Marin and what's going on, and I think an update on that is always important. But the second thing I'm real concerned about, and it's a reference to the grand jury report. For many years now, it started about maybe 10 years ago, there have been reports on senior services in Marin. We are increasing our senior population by leaps and bounds. I was really fascinated with our gentleman, Mr. Keller, who obviously is setting the stage for what's to come in terms of seniors. And so I think a topic on that matter is really important for this group to discuss, and those who know the grand jury report, you know that year after year, when it's reported, there is very little improvement. And so I'd like us to have some dialogue and discussion about that. And thank you very much.
Okay, here, let's see. Do you want to go ahead? I'm sorry, I'm not going to
Larry Burnworth, San Rafael. Two things. First, with respect to human trafficking, are you in contact with Linda Wittong and
Yes.
Paula Kamena?
Yes, we did a joint,
All right.
joint event together.
My particular, I have two issues. One would be the current County Board of Education with respect to all of the little fiefdoms in Marin County. I think we have 14 different school districts. Each has its own superintendent, vice superintendent, administrative staff, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, the county superintendent really doesn't have a lot of authority over any of those little fiefdoms. So we have a top-down, just an abysmal waste of money in my estimation. That's one. Number two, I don't know how many of you are voters in this organization, but the San Rafael City Harbor really needs to be cleaned up, and I think we need to hear from the city manager, the town council, the San Rafael Harbor master, whoever, to find out what's going on there with all of the liveaboards. There is no possible way that all of those liveaboards are having their holding tanks pumped out on a routine basis. Just not happening. We need to hear about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'll go back to you, Stephen, and then we'll come here and then we'll do a time check.
Okay, a couple things. Everyone, there's so many great subjects here. I can't wait for next year. I guess it's going to take 3 years to get through all the subjects. I want to, I guess, support Greg Brockbank's fine suggestion that we bring candidates in. But I'd like to make an additional suggestion: is we throw these issues at them, these specific issues, as question points, and so we can continue the dialogue throughout the year. Also, Jack Crystal's point was one I was going to make, is we really need to hear from different groups. One of the concerns I have is displacement. With all this growth that we're having, displacement is going to occur in Marin City and some of these areas where all this change is coming to, my community as well. So, and which also wraps up into the idea of government and Plan Bay Area and, you know, really the future of democracy, local democracy. So I guess that's it.
Okay, Julia, did I see that you had your hand up?
Yes, I'm Julian Anthony, Lucas Valley. I want to piggyback on Angelica's need to have someone from MMWD come. I've been hearing on the radio that different counties have different needs as far as drastically cutting back, and I need to find out, you know, what is our county? Where do we stand? Are we going to have 25% with minimization, or what are we going to have here? Because different counties are having different states, and we need to find out how is Marin County doing, and do we have to cut back as much as some of the other counties, or are we in pretty good shape? Thank you very much.
Okay, so we've got time just for like popcorn. These have to be really short. I'll go around one more time. You have to say your item in, you know, like 30 seconds or less, and I'm going to just call on people who haven't yet spoken. So let's start over here. Short.
Very short.
Yes.
My name is Nadine Muller, and I'm from DeCascio, and I am was the foreperson last year for the grand jury. I love what you're saying. We have many items that we need to talk about, and I talked to Doris about it last week. You'll be seeing, I'd be happy to come and talk to you in detail. But look on the county web And look at the reports that are written and the responses. It's very important for you to look at those. Many of you, I'd love to see join the grand jury because you have many good ideas. Anyway, we'll talk about it later.
Thank you. Yes, sorry. Okay, anybody else at this table with the final thing? Back to Elizabeth. Okay, yes, back to you.
Dan Hatch, I live in the Terra Linda area of San Rafael. As we're talking, I'm realizing that we're privileged to be able to be here and afford this kind of lunch. How do we get is there a way we can have scholarship or chairs available by paying $1 more for those who cannot afford to be here, so that we hear from, or let those who can't afford to be here hear the kinds of things that are happening and become part of that coalition?
Great idea. Board members, take that into account. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap it up because I'm seeing only one other hand. I'll take one more comment from David, who we haven't heard from, and Elizabeth. Okay, 2 more comments. David and then Elizabeth, and then we're going to hear the board election results.
David Randolph, San Rafael. When we talk about people who aren't here but should be represented by the work that we do, and that is the grandchildren. You mentioned the 12-year-olds. I'm thinking of them even younger. What kind of world are they coming into? What can we do to make it a better world for them? 18 people got measles in Disneyland.
Okay, so David, not too much of a story because I want to keep us moving to wrap up right now.
All right, but there are many issues affecting them and they have no voice.
Right.
Just the immunization. Somebody talk about it. We haven't had these illnesses in 50, 80 years.
I want to be sure that we talk about affordable housing because we need it throughout the county. We've got one of the highest incomes in the whole nation. 80% of Mill Valley workers come from outside of the city. So it is very important that we provide more affordable housing in Red County.
Okay, so I know a number of you are raising your hand, and I'm not even going to make eye contact because I can feel bad to call on you. So I'm going to just look back and invite Carol to come up, or do you want to make the election result?
I can do it from here.
So but before you do that, just to say, our next meeting is September 2nd. It's Steve Kinsey and Pat Eklund. So a really important topic that we have the good fortune of having one of the supervisors here. Spread the word, invite friends. We will use that as a part of our kickoff for a membership drive for the 2015-2016. So hope you will put that on your calendar. Again, a thank you to Doug Scherf and Dennis Welch, who are retiring from this board. Doug, you're going to get your bottle of wine, Dennis. And then again, just an acknowledgement for the board members who have served all, this organization, keep it moving and growing, and thank you for that. And then let's hear what is our transition for the next year. Carol.
Oh, thanks. So we did a double count with the help of Doug and Dennis. And here are your new board members: Charles Bruce, Doris Law Bagley, Stephen Nessel, Robin Keller, and Dennis Brown.